Welcome back. So now I want to go through just an introduction to the tutorial I've put together for learning a bit of Refinery and the CMS we're currently using. And in doing that, you learn Ruby on Rails on the way. So it just makes sense to learn all these things kind of together as an introduction. And what I've put together is a way to build a site we've already built, the porn effect, on Refinery. So we've already got the HTML and the CSS and the JavaScript already built. So that means for the training, you're not having to use no styles or anything. You can actually have things up and working and looking okay, because that stuff is already done, and you can just focus on the actual CMS, the Ruby side of things. So the tutorial is going to lead you to these guides within refinerycms.com for multiple steps. So it's basically a guide through a tutorial through using Refinery as it's meant to be used, more how it's documented, and then so that going forward we can hopefully get you building extensions onto Refinery that aren't exactly the way it's meant to be used, more customizing its core or its base, as we're getting into now with Life Collective. So the first step is, once you get my Asana invite. Asana is the tool we use for project management and just our to-do lists. And there's a Rails. You might need to click the Show More Projects if it's not showing on the default page. But there's a Rails training project. And once you click on that, you'll see a list of tasks, 19 tasks to get started. So the first one is set up your development environment, which includes installing Git, and then this one is key. You're going to have to generate an RSA key if you don't have one already. So I've given a command there, and then email me that key so I can give you access to Git. And then once I've done that, you can clone the repository and check out the training-your name branch. So cloning it will give, if you're not familiar with Git at all, cloning it gives you all the branches that we currently have in this repository, and then I'm going to want you to make all your commits within a single branch as you go through this training, so I can keep an eye on it and help you with anything and make any changes along with you. So just a very quick lesson on Git. If you're not familiar, I have no idea how familiar you are, but once you do the clone, git clone, then you're going to do a git checkout training Derek, for example, and now we're on the training Derek branch, and then you would do a you'd make a change to a file. Let's say it's an sadf.text, whatever, and then you do a git add to that file, and then you can see the status right now is there's this new file to be committed. So then you do a git commit, which will commit everything that is staged to be committed. So you do a git commit, you type a descriptive message just to show what you're doing, added a file, whatever, and then save that. I won't save it. And then you do a git push to push that from, so all the git repo, everything is local here on your computer, and you push that to update the server with that, and then I can do a pull to grab those changes. And whenever you're starting something, or periodically, you'll do a git pull rebase to pull in any changes that anyone else has made. But you should be the only one making changes on this branch, so you shouldn't actually need to pull. There will be some points in the tutorial and just with Rails development where you'll be generating code, like for example generating a Refinery extension to add a new tab and a new type of content. And I'd ask that when you are generating code, please generate the code with the command, run the command to generate the code, commit all the files as they're generated, and then any changes you make to it, I can easily see. It just helps me when I'm reviewing, so I can see what changes you've made, and it's not mixed in with all this generated code, so I don't know what change you've actually made. So to give you a quick overview of the directory structure, once you get started, one of the first steps is install Refinery, and that's going to create this Rails app directory structure for you. And I just want to give a quick run through of what that's going to look like. So I've just switched over to the point effect branch here, and in there we've got Refinery installed. So it has a few key directories here. There's a start with a public directory. So anything in public will like HTML files will just show up at the base of the site. So the site name /404.html or /404 will host this 404.html file. Same with, you see the robots.txt here. So this is just a pass through. It doesn't get into Rails routing and stuff. It just it hosts these files directly. And then there is the DB directory, which has your database file as well as all the migrations. So all the changes to the database that are necessary to change the schema of the database. You'll be creating these migrations at some point using a generator. And then the main one is there's config environments and initializers to configure Refinery. One of the big ones here will be config initializers Refinery pages, which it gives you a bunch of options for how to lay out the pages and putting you don't need to know the details of that yet, but there are a lot of things that aren't shown on the admin back end of Refinery that you can go in and configure to change things or make more options available in the config. So then the main directory here is the app directory, and that contains the assets, which is all the JavaScript and CSS and images, all the assets there. And then there is the models. We'll start with models. Models are your objects for in the model view controller pattern, which again I'm not aware if you're familiar with, but so models are your models, or your objects, and then you have controllers that are taking those models and presenting them with views. So the views is where all the HTML is stored. And then helpers are for I haven't actually used a lot of helpers, but common functionality between the models or controllers. And decorators are extensions of ways to extend models and controllers that are in like Refinery libraries. If there's a Refinery built-in models that you want to add something small to, you can put them in a decorator to add a little piece of your own custom functionality to it. And then mailers are for sending emails. And then, so the one thing that will possibly be frustrating for you, for people starting out on Ruby on Rails or with Refinery, the way things are set up, is the number of directories. And that's why I wanted to give you this quick walkthrough. But inside the vendor extensions, this is where when you create a new extension, like for example the FAQs is the one you'll be creating, there is this exact same directory structure with config, database, there's no public directory here because this isn't the base one, but there's a very similar directory structure. And inside the app folder here, again, you've got assets for this extension, controllers, mailers, models, and views. So hopefully within not too long you'll see the benefit of having this extensions built out in these different directories to keep them contained and to structure them all the same. But until you really see that it's a good thing, it's gonna seem like an issue, something that might be a little frustrating. So if you can bear with that until you get used to it and see that it's actually a good thing, that yeah, I trust that will happen. It's something you can get used to. So in your branch, the only thing that is there before you install Refinery is the app directory and a temp directory, and that's where I've just placed inside the app directory. I've placed all of the assets from the porn effect so that you have all the JavaScript and CSS all there and ready to go. All you have to do is put the HTML in, and I've even got the HTML in the temp directory. You can see the About Us, blog, book a speaker form, homepage. So these are all, I can tell you how I did this. I just grabbed the source from the porn effect, just grabbed the source HTML from here and put them in there. So if you ever need to get more HTML, that's the way you do it. Just grab it from the live website, and that way if you use that HTML, then it's all going to work with all of the CSS and JavaScript that's already there. So I'd recommend that. So basically the way what you're going to be doing is taking that HTML that doesn't have any variables in it and just putting the Ruby code into that HTML and deleting the common chunks so that you can put loops in and put the Ruby code in so that to basically make this HTML dynamic is what you're doing, to be able to edit it from the CMS. So hopefully that's enough to get you started, and I'll be in touch with any questions you have, and you can give me a call if you want. So just a reminder, the first steps, get me your RSA key and I can give you access to the Git repo. Talk to you later.